Sarah Michelle Gellar has announced that they are canceling the reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And
First off, show of hands here. Who has actually seen the entire series or at least watched an episode?
I only watched at least 1 or 2 episodes of the beginning, and I never watched the rest of it. I fell off the show.
The show's really good. I mean, I actually probably speak more on this because I am a Buffy fan.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of bummed me out when I first read it. But then after you read the whole shit, you're like, I'm kind of relieved now because I think it's better. I'd rather have nothing than have shit.
We'll get into it. Yeah. We'll get into it. I'm going to get into that story. So yeah, it officially announced that she took to her social media that the show has been canceled for the whole revival of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer that we were supposed to be getting, and Chloe Zhao was supposed to be attached to direct the pilot episode of the show. Sarah Michelle Gellar recently took to her Instagram to a story to speak out for the first time on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot that currently has a pilot order at Hulu. Buffy fans have been divided on social media over whether or not a reboot is needed. News of the Buffy reboot broke on February 3rd. And here's the quote from Sarah Michelle Gellar. So you might have heard some news this week, but I realize you haven't heard from me. Gellar wrote to the fandom. 3 years ago, I got a call from my dear friend and mentor, Gail Berman. She told me that she wanted me to sit down with Chloe Zhao to hear her take on a potential Buffy revival. I was blown away that Chloe even knew who I was, but as I've always done, I told Gail that I just didn't see a way for the show to exist again. We always been aligned on that, but this time I heard something different in her voice. And she continues. Gellar agreed to a meeting mainly so she could just get the chance to talk with No Man Land Oscar winner Zhao, but their 20-minute coffee quickly turned into a 4-hour adventure, the actor wrote. While I didn't agree to anything at the meeting, I did shock myself by agreeing to continue the conversation. And Gellar continued, these conversations did, in fact, continue over the next few years, and eventually we added the incredible Nora and Lila Zuckerman to our little tribe until ultimately one day we landed on an idea. I have always listened to the fans and heard your desire to revisit Buffy and her world, but it was not something I could do unless I was sure we would get it right. She concluded, this has been a long process and it's not over yet. I promise you, we will only make the show if we know we can do it right. And I will tell you that we are on the path there. I feel so lucky to be on the journey with these 4 unbelievably talented women, all of whom love Buffy as much as I do. And as much as you do, thank you to all the fans who never stopped asking for this. This will be for you. And Gellar is set to reprise her iconic role of Buffy Summers in the reboot. Although the series is expected to focus on a new character and will feature Gellar in a mentor supporting role. Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman are attached to write, showrun, and executive produce the series, while Zhao is attached to direct the executive and executive produce.
Which I have an issue. All right, so I sent you out, and if I just check your messenger, I just sent you the thing that once John Roca basically said that his sources just told him, like what was said about like no Sarah. There's actually a lot like a problem. I don't know if you could share screen that like that what I just about the John Roca thing. Basically, they're trying to say Chloe Zhao was the reason like she didn't get enough coverage. And all this stuff, and like, Molly, this is like a lady who's up for best director at the Oscar. Tell her she can't direct a TV pilot, which is bullshit. And so, like, Roca went on and said, "Oh fuck this." Sarah Michelle Gellar's people, maybe even Hulu, are trying to throw Chloe out under the bus over Buffy. Nope, not letting this happen to this incredible, talented woman of color. I was gonna stay quiet with all the stuff I heard, but nah, let's do this. Since my post 48 hours ago, my source that told me Gellar is the issue from the beginning. This was just an IP grab to stop Slayer projects from proceeding, which my sources have heard from person involved in the original series. Gellar wasn't terribly interested in rebooting Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is why her role was very limited and was going to be more than one line. Gellar had intentionally courted a creative who had a mixed history as showrunner, but was a known fan, so that was the easiest fault on her as the reason for the series' failure. There was also a lot of love bombing from Sarah Michelle Gellar to Chloe Zhao before the latest excuse was to put their blame on Zhao and throw her under the bus. Gellar constantly shouted down cuts or cut off from executives and production people who were trying to fix the issue with the show. One even said Geller wanted to make changes to Buffy's character that established canon of the series that would have pissed off 90% of the fan base. And now it just came out that the Hollywood Reporter that Geller doesn't even want you reading the script or watching the leaked pilot. No surprise. It just shows almost like she approved that we're getting the wreck of the show in the canon. By the way, all sources I trust are giving me the correct info from the past, so you might want to put down your roses-colored fan glass and put on some real clear ones. That was John Roca. That's that. Which that does make more sense because, there has been people forget the original Buffy pilot, the original from Joss Whedon series. That was a terrible pilot, and they reshot the pilot. Originally, Allison Hannigan was not Willow in that series. They had a different actress that played Willow in the pilot, and it was a terrible pilot. And it's on YouTube, that pilot. And it's an awful pilot. It's a completely different pilot. The only difference I think was they kept most of the cast, but yeah, it was a terrible pilot. And they said, no, we got to redo that again. And I'm like, I've seen pilots at Game of Thrones. People forget Game of Thrones. What?
Oh, nothing.
People forget Game of Thrones had a pilot. Remember, Game of Thrones had a terrible pilot. They reshot that pilot over. And I'm like, so bad pilots happen all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad pilots happen all the time.
Boy Meets World had a bad pilot.
Here's even Drake and Josh had a bad pilot, and they had to redo another pilot. Not because it was bad, because they had to replace the actor who played the dad, and they had to redo the pilot for Smallville because they had to replace the mom. They had a better actress to portray Martha Kent. So it happens all the time when they do reshooting the pilot and try to.
But it feels like it's saying that Sarah Michelle Gellar probably did not want to do it because she didn't want to do the series, and so she was kind of like saying, hey, well, let's just release it. And so that way the Buffy fans can say, hey, here's the series. And they're like, watch one episode.
You know what that reminded me? The Lizzie McGuire revival show for Disney Plus. They shot a pilot and then they got canceled.
But I think from the Lizzie McGuire, from everything we read, it was because the Disney was not, they wanted to make it for kids. And they were
because it was more adult. It was more of an adult themed show.
Yeah. Well, they said, Buffy, they were trying to make it more mature, like the original series. Like they were making it dark and mature. And Chloe Zhao was even on board with that, but then it seems like
they wanted to go for Buffy to be more in the supporting role because, according to Robert Meyer Burnett on the John Campea show, he had the script of the pilot of what they have filmed.
You show up for the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, she shows up at the very last fucking end of the episode of the pilot because they were focusing on new characters. They were doing this whole requel style. You know what that reminded me? Yeah, it reminded me of Scream 5. Remember Scream 5? Sydney was not the main character. They labeled her as the main character in the marketing.
But it's not called Sydney 5.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. She's the face of the franchise. They labeled her as the main
Buffy
character.
The Vampire Slayer, New Sunnydale, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer doesn't show up till 30
because you got to understand, even though it's called Scream, Nev Campbell Cindy is the face of the franchise. It's her franchise. And when they marketed Scream 5, they labeled her as the main character. And she shows up in a cameo.
But unlike Scream 5, Scream 5 was actually good.
It's actually good.
Terrible. And which honestly, my biggest issue is that, they could have fixed this pilot. I guarantee you. It seems like Sarah Michelle did not want that.
Yeah, but she went on to say that they don't give up. There's still a chance that they can try to redo the pilot and get picked up from another streaming platform.
And you know what that means, right? They're probably being like, we want to make it, just not with you, Sarah. Because remember, a couple years ago, they were going to do a Buffy the Vampire Slayer remake.
Didn't they say that she was difficult to work with on set too?
Yeah. Do you know why? Do you want to know? I'll tell you right now. Do you want to know why she's not in The Grudge 2? Why she dies the first 10 seconds of The Grudge 2? It's because Sam Raimi said, I don't want to work with her anymore. I worked with her on the first one. Kill her off.
Damn.
That's why she's not in The Grudge 2 for more than 10 seconds.
Maybe that's the reason why she's there for the last 3 seconds of that episode, because she was kind of difficult to work with. I think it may be because it might be the ego thing going on.
Because guess what? Jennifer Love Hewitt said she did when they did the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. She had one note when she come back. When they were trying to do a cameo for Sarah Michelle Gellar, she goes, I don't want to have a scene with her.
Oh, damn. That's
why they gave it to Madeline Klein's cameo. Has a scene with her instead of Jennifer Love Hewitt. Because Jennifer Love Hewitt says, I don't want a scene with her. And she even said, I don't want to sit with her at the premiere either.
I mean, Ryan, I know you haven't seen the show. I get it. But I want to know your thoughts. And I want you to chime in what you thought about the whole canceled pilot situation.
There's more to this than everyone is letting on. I think ideas were pitched, maybe even a draft of a script was written, and someone said, "This is not going to work." And so there was just too much of a plans change, pal kind of thing. And so it was a game of what this town ain't big enough for the two of us, and Geller got the axe. Will this go forward? I think so in some capacity. From what I understand, there is enough of a fan base for this to where it could merit this keeping going again. But I mean, like in the big 2020s, like we've seen like crappy remakes and reboots of things that
Fuller
have been
House.
beloved and all of that. So we've been down this road before. So no, this is a weird one. I think where it sits is that I feel like Geller got told to move respectfully. She didn't want to, and then she was basically like forced out.
Yeah, makes sense.
It pisses me off that she's trying to throw an executive under the buffs. And that right there, I think, is what really hurt me. Is like, you're literally trying to, you're Buffy, and you're like, and you're trying to say, oh, I did nothing wrong. It's, like, I'm like, you know what? Apparently now everybody's saying, yeah, actually it was her that was the fault. Like a lot of times they're like, why would you try to rewrite? Yeah, I saw set photos of her in a blazer.
Yeah, she kind of looked like Gail. She kind of looked like Gail.
Dressed like that in the show.
Yeah, but here's the thing: she's dressed up like Gail Weathers from the wardrobe from Scream 5. Hey, they want that wardrobe back.
I think what it was is like Sarah Michelle Gellar probably was like, if I fuck up the show enough, then they're like, we're not gonna make it.
That would make a lot more sense. I mean,
here's my conspiracy theory hat on. I'm putting my conspiracy theory hat on.
Go for it.
I think maybe she's loyal to Joss Whedon, and Joss Whedon, since he got thrown out of Hollywood because after the whole Justice League incident, she probably I know she said, "Oh, I will be happy to be associated with Buffy," but a month before that, she was like, "Oh, Joss Whedon is the greatest showrunner ever, and I'll never do it without him." I have a feeling that she still probably is loyal to him. She's just saying that for PR purposes, and then she probably went to him and he says, "Fuck up the pilot as much as possible," and then afterwards they'll come back to me. And they'll be like, it'll be like the Thanos thing. It says, you couldn't live with your own failures, so where'd you come back to? Me.
Joss Whedon's going to be getting a phone call very soon.
Oh, and then speaking, one thing I want to say, because they recently are going to try to develop the revival of Firefly that was done by Joss Whedon, and Nathan Fillion went on to social media and said, yeah, we talked and he actually was willing to give the rights to us, and then now we can actually move forward. Even without Joss Whedon,
which I think
at least he still credited him. At least he still credited him. It's like, hey, he gave us the show Firefly that became a cult following, even though it got canceled after season 1, and we did the movie Serenity. But it was great to work with him. But now we wanted to do a revival, and they're in development.
Which I don't.
I know that next time.
Which I think honestly though, did Joss Whedon? I mean, what's the worst thing he did? He's being an asshole.
No, he did something inappropriate on the fucking set of Justice League. I mean, like fucking Ray Fisher called him out many times.
He verbally abused people, but I mean, like he didn't like sexually assault anyone.
Well, he kind of was inappropriate with Gal Gadot, and he did not want to. She did not want to be shot around him because if you've seen in the Joss Whedon cut, there's a lot of shots that was not Gal Gadot. They used a body double and they CGI'd her face because she did not want to shoot any scenes with Joss Whedon.
But like it wasn't like everything I read. He
did something. No, because he did something inappropriate that he wasn't supposed to be fucking doing.
But I mean, like he didn't like grab her butt or nothing like that. He may basically did a few scenes that like in Avengers: Age of Ultron, where where he basically did the whole
boob joke, and she did not want to do that scene, and that was not even her in that shot.
Which I mean, it'd be different if okay, you come up with a joke like that, and then the actor doesn't want to do it, and then you do it anyway. But it'd be different. But him going and assaulting the actress is one thing. I would say I think honestly, being a dick on set is not really a crime. Because if that was the case, Michael Bay would be in. I mean,
there's probably a little bit more to it than what Ray Fisher had.
I mean, there are stuff. There's stuff on Buffy that was read about it where it's like
even remember James Masters or whatever his name is? Yeah. That was one of the main characters.
James Masters.
Yeah, he talked about it in the Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. He talked about that story.
And also, Chris McCarpenter plays Cordelia, where he told her to get an abortion because she's going to ruin season 4 of Angel.
It's like, oh my God.
And then he said, when she didn't, she fired her. That right there is horrible.
Yeah.
So
now, no, go on.
But I was just saying,
like I think honestly, like yeah, being an asshole. I mean, if it's just him being an asshole, then you can say, hey, look, we'll work with him, but like we'll let somebody be on set to monitor, make sure if we'll have like a PR, like the safe spaces or something where people can go to and say, look, I don't feel comfortable now because he's yelling at us or something. Like something like that is fine, but like if he's like going around grabbing women's asses and boobs and going, hey, yeah, you like that, don't you, bitch?
I mean, you never know. He could have.
I know he did say one in the when he tried to do like that PR piece to justify his actions, where he says that he got an extra from Buffy. He put her in the show because he was having sex with her, cheating on his wife. Which I think I know which one, because there's some random girl that just shows up for no reason.
I mean, I will say, look, I loved what Joss Whedon had done with the Firefly and Serenity. I love what he did with the first.
I love what he did with Buffy.
Look, I haven't seen Buffy all the way through, so I can't judge on the show or Angel because I have not watched that show either.
I think you would like Angel more than Buffy. I think you like.
Most people say Angel is better than Buffy, from what I've heard.
I will say, knowing you, I would say the first 3 seasons of Buffy you would like, and then you would like Angel more. The rest, I think you would hate Buffy the rest of the way. If you start with,
maybe.
Because it's like a joke after.
I did like what he did with Age of Ultron, even though I didn't love it as much. It was a little bit of a step down on the first one because I thought the first one was like what really set the groundwork of the modern golden age of fucking comic book movies. And if it weren't for that success, I don't think it would be where they are now, because it set the tone of the MCU by the time you see the Avengers. So I'll give him some credit with that, even though I was like fucking let down on what he did with the Whedon cut of the movie and hijacking what Zach's vision. But all that aside, I still liked some of his past work. That I'll judge that.
You can still love him for his work, and still,
yeah, exactly.
A mutual friend of ours absolutely hates.
Yeah,
absolutely hates that he can't. Like that
I'm one of those people that I just judge the art instead of the artist.
What?
Anyway, I feel like this is a situation that's going to evolve. We don't know it yet, but I feel like it will evolve.
I honestly, I mean, who knows? By the time, who knows? At the end of the day, I would not be shocked though if Disney did get Joss Whedon back, to fix the show.
I mean, honestly, I highly doubt it.
I don't think that's going to happen, but I would not be shocked if it did.
I mean, if he has a big comeback story, I mean, I don't know if he will. I mean, I'm all about great comeback stories.
In a world where the director of Rush Hour 4 is coming back to make Rush Hour 4.
Well, right now they're in development. Well, right now there's been a say that there may not happen.
And that dude got like 9 accusations against him.
That's true. Well, that was done. But to be fair, it's under Paramount by the Ellison brothers. Yeah. They're bringing back a lot of people who are canceled. So Disney, they will definitely not bring back Joss Whedon. Fuck, they're not going to do that. Well, they're not Paramount. Paramount, that's different. Paramount does not give a fuck.
Paramount's like, we're the uncancelable studio today.
We're the uncancelable studio. Come with us.
Because guess what?
Oh God, I wish I had that X-Men Apocalypse clip when Apocalypse coming to Portal the Magneto. Like, come with us. If you get it, you get it.
All right, but yeah.
But anyway, we're wrapping up the story. Tell me what you thought about this whole revival Buffy show getting canceled. Were you happy that it got canceled, or do you wish they would have given them another chance and let other streaming platforms get picked up? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.